Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rewilding Wellness Wednesdays, a podcast, yes, but more than that, a community, a gathering place, and a movement. I am Dr. Christy Vanacore, and here we come together to remember what it really means to be well in body, mind, spirit, and soul. This is a space to listen, learn, ask questions, share your voice, a place where ancient wisdom and modern science meet, and where we stop trying to fix ourselves and instead begin remembering who we are. Every Wednesday, we gather here, not just information, but for transformation, for connection, for the medicine of story and movement and silence and song and community. Because rewilding wellness isn't something that can be done alone. It's something that must be done together. And in doing so, we become part of something bigger than ourselves. We become part of a movement back to wholeness. So, for those of you new to me, I am Dr. Christy Vanacore, doctor, medicine woman, author, lyricist, ceremonialist, and trailblazer, offering a different but essential approach known as rewilding wellness for adults, children, teens, and families, utilizing multidimensional and bioquantum practices for holistic healing and thriving. After witnessing the staggering rates of chronic illness in adults and children and the ineffective and disempowering practices of modern traditional care, I recognized that my life's mission was to bring the health and wellness industries back to its roots, to reconnect people with their innate self-healing capacities. For over 2 decades, my work has integrated mind, body, and spirit, and honors that fundamentally we are vibrational beings and that healing can only be birthed from the union of science with soul. As we heal through frequency, embodiment, cellular recalibration, and regeneration, I guide individuals and families to rediscover their body's brilliance, timeless wisdom, so they can realign with the natural synergy of all of creation. I will light the way as you remember your roots, rekindle your instincts, and reclaim your sovereignty. Through both private and collective healing experiences, I am here to help you courageously navigate life with grace, ease, peace, and harmony so that you can soar, steady and strong, open, awake and aware, and resilient and ready. I'm thrilled to have you all here with me. So, wherever you are right now, whatever it is that you're doing, maybe you're listening to this as you're driving or washing dishes or sitting alone, just let's take a moment together to pause. Just take a minute to feel your feet on the earth beneath you. Feel the sky above the crown, the very top of your head. And take a nice deep inhale through your nose. And exhale. Let's take that a few more times. A nice deep inhale through your nose. And a nice exhale out. Couple more times, allowing the ebb and flow of your breath to move through you. And taking a moment to allow this time, this here and now, this moment to be the only thing that is real and the only thing that matters. Exhale. So as we settle in together, today's episode of Rewilding Wellness is raw and real and gritty at times, and so incredibly necessary. So I'm going to be talking today about suicide, but not in the way that the headlines do, and not in the way that systems try to manage this with numbers and checklists. And also not in some alarmist way that is going to be endless lists of warning signs for you to look for, so that every little thing in your life or your loved one's life becomes a possible crisis. And so you're riddled with anxiety. No, we're not doing that. We're not having those conversations. Those are not the conversations to have. Instead, I'm here tonight to talk to you about the why beneath the pain, the broken structures that leave people without real, meaningful, and sustainable help, and what each of us can do every day so that we don't lose ourselves or our loved ones to systems that were never designed to honor our fundamental wholeness. They're systems designed to keep us broken and fragmented. So first, I must say, if you are here with me today and you're listening and you are struggling with any suicidal thoughts, please hear this first. You are not broken. I promise you that. You are whole, you are human, and you are divine. And you may be carrying pain that deserves compassion and not shame. If you are in immediate crisis right now, please call 988 if you are in the United States. You do not have to walk this road alone. And I am here today to remind you that we are all on this road together. So I'm going to dive into this really important conversation. And again, just need to say, typically these podcasts are live. I invite participation. I want this to be a community. I'm still in process of switching platforms. If you've been listening the last few weeks, you know that. So this is just my audio. It's just my voice. But please, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your feedback. Let me know if this is helpful. Let me know what was meaningful. I want this to be a conversation. So let's dive in. So the reality is that suicide is a health crisis. It is now one of the top leading causes of death, with nearly 50,000 people dying every year in the United States alone. But behind every statistic is a person, a real person, a child, a parent, a neighbor, a friend. And yet, the way we've been conditioned to respond to this is pills and labels and quick fixes and insurance codes. A system that numbs symptoms instead of nourishing souls. And the truth is, this is what is making the problem worse. I want to begin by sharing a couple of stories with you. And some of these stories may be difficult at times to listen to. They might remind you of a loved one's story or maybe your own story. These are real stories. I will not be sharing real names, obviously, in the interest of confidentiality, but these are real stories. One of which is my story of a family member, cousin of mine. The other two are stories of families who I work with in my Rewilding wellness program. And I think that hearing the stories are important because, again, we get lost in seas of statistics. The powers that be distract us. But we're talking about people. So we must hear the stories. So here they are. So this is a story about Vincent. Vincent was grieving. He had lost his wife. And like any human being, he was moving through waves of sorrow. Waves that can be unpredictable. There's always an ebb and flow to sorrow. But sometimes the waves are super strong and volatile, and other times they're smoother. But the waves move nonetheless. Grief is not an illness. It's a natural, necessary response to loss. But sadly, the system doesn't know how to hold space for grief. So instead, it labels it and pathologizes it and calls it depression. So when Vincent sat in a psychiatrist's office, what he received was not compassion, not ritual, not support, but a piece of paper that was torn off of an old prescription pad. So instead of being guided through the raw and aching process of mourning the loss of his beloved spouse for over 4 decades, he was instead given medication that numbed him, distorted his sleep, left him feeling disoriented, such that in the middle of the day while driving or walking, he didn't know who he is or where he was or where he was going. He couldn't remember his own name some days. And when he realized that something was amiss and he felt that there were these side effects making things worse, because you see, Vincent never wanted to take medicine. He just wanted someone to talk to because he really missed his wife. So when he started to feel side effects of these pills, he called for help. He called his psychiatrist. He left her 3 voicemail messages. The last message he left, his voice cracking, he pleaded, "Please call me back. I really need help." His messages went unanswered. And the next day, he took his life. And he took his life in the middle of a dissociative episode, which basically means that he was not in his right mind or body. He was disoriented, knew not what he was doing. He didn't want to die. The truth is that Vincent didn't die from grief alone. He died from a system that confused grief with pathology and that handled him with pills instead of presence. A system that failed to answer the phone when all he needed the most was a witness, someone to hold him in love, someone to remind him that love lives on in the constancy of light, that his wife was with him. That's Vincent's story. The next story that I'd like to share is one of Ava. Ava was a bright high school student. She wrote poetry in the margins of her notebooks and played guitar in her room and made her friends laugh until their bellies hurt. But somewhere between sophomore year and junior year, the light in Ava's eyes dimmed. Her parents noticed first. She stopped coming down for dinner. Then her grades slipped. And then her laughter was replaced with long stretches of silence. They went to the school, desperate for help. "Our daughter isn't herself. Ava's withdrawing. She needs support. Please help us," they pleaded. The school counselor nodded kindly, but she was overwhelmed. Hundreds of students, one office. The teacher said, "Oh, this is what happens to teenagers. They go through these phases, their moods change. They don't want to talk to their parents anymore. She's just being a typical teen. Ava will grow out of it." The system dismissed the warning signs as normal adolescence. Meanwhile, she was cutting her arms beneath her long sleeves and writing goodbye notes hidden under her bed. She felt invisible, screaming silently into the void of her school and her world. By the time her parents found outside help for her, the damage was done. By that time, she had learned to mistrust adults, She had internalized the messages that her pain wasn't real and that she was just supposed to push through. But she couldn't. She didn't know how. And so one day, she decided to end it all because she just couldn't do it anymore. And the system failed her, not necessarily because no one cared, but because caring wasn't backed up by actual presence and resources. She didn't need to be told she was resilient. She needed to be shown that she was safe. And unfortunately, no one in the system was equipped to do that for her. And her poor parents, they're left sitting on my couch, blaming themselves. The next story about a father who was desperate. This is Thomas. Thomas, a father of two, he was a provider for his family, a coach at all of his sons' soccer games. He was the man who was always grilling burgers in the backyard on summer nights for the family. And so when depressing thoughts and feelings and emotions came crashing over him one year, he did what he was told to do. He went to his primary care physician. The prescription was instant. Before Thomas could even finish telling the story, the prescription was written. SSRIs, antidepressants. At first, he felt some relief, of course, but slowly things took an ugly turn. He wasn't sleeping right. His food lost its taste. He couldn't laugh with his kids anymore the way that he used to. He didn't feel anything. And his wife would constantly be saying to him, Tommy, are you okay? Are you all right, Tommy? And he'd kind of shrug, but she describes it that he'd almost stare past her. His wife, Valerie, would say it was like he was physically there at the dinner table, but emotionally he was gone. She said it was like he was stuck behind a fog of numbness and she couldn't access him. When Valerie accompanied Thomas to his next doctor's appointment, she told the doctor, he's just not himself. I really think these meds are changing him. This happened several times, and sadly, the answer was always the same. Give it more time. Stay the course. Sometimes things get worse before they get better. But this course was dismantling their marriage. It was fracturing his relationship with his kids. His kids would stop asking him to play because he never said yes anymore. His wife went to bed alone night after night. The man they loved may still have been alive, but he was completely unreachable. The system had taken his pain and muted it, but in muting the pain, they muted his joy. They muted the essence of who he is and who he was as a vibrant being of love and light. Nobody explained the side effects. Nobody offered community support. Nobody offered anything besides the pills. And week after week, when he sat in the 20 minutes of therapy and said that he felt down, the therapist just nodded her head the way she was trained to do in traditional therapy school, until she would promptly look at her watch and say, well, time is up. See you next week. He was reduced to his diagnosis and a prescription pad, all while the relationships that made life worth living for him were the ones most damaged. Sadly, Thomas didn't make it. But even before he decided to take his life, there was already a loss for his family. as his wife and children watched the man they loved disappear, taken away by the very system that promised it would help him. Friends, this is not just about statistics. This is about individuals who are victims of a broken system. So here's what I want to know. Here's what I seek to empower people to ask. What will we do about it? Because we don't want to stay stuck in the stats and the sadness and the sorrow either. We need to take action. We have to educate ourselves. We have to advocate for ourselves and the ones we love. We can connect deeply every day so that people aren't left waiting for the callback that never comes. So I want to talk for a few moments now about the ways that the system fails us. So first, as you gather from these stories, over-medication and side effects. So too often people are prescribed anti-anxiety meds, antidepressants without proper monitoring. So in Vincent's story, the medicine that he was prescribed, which has massive black box warnings, has massive worsening of suicidal thoughts and ideation as a side effect that's written on the box, actually was contraindicated for another medication that he was taking for a medical issue as a result of having had prostate cancer earlier in his life. Who missed that one? Doctors, pharmacists, busy systems with long lines. Yeah, there was no proper monitoring. Side effects of these meds include increased anxiety, emotional blunting and stunting, apathy, worsening of suicidal thoughts. Dosing is often wrong. It's trial and error. Cocktails of meds are doled out like they're freaking candy. They're changed abruptly, which destabilizes the entire system. And what we're talking about here is Band-Aid mental health. The system treats symptoms. They don't treat root causes. Instead of asking, why are people in pain in the first place, the focus is on, well, how do we get them back to work faster? How do we get them back in school so they can take their damn tests and get themselves into college? The trauma, the isolation, the chronic illness, the disconnection, the domestication and conditioning that has children confused about their own identities. God, these are the deeper root causes that are left completely untouched and unspoken of. There are barriers to people getting real care. Therapy, it's expensive. It's often inaccessible. Insurance companies deny claims. They limit sessions. I deal with this every damn day when insurance companies tell me they won't reimburse my clients because I meet with them for too long. Insurance companies tell me I do too much. In my opinion, it's never enough. Too much. They place limits on how long I can spend with clients. Never mind rural areas that lack providers altogether. I get calls from places that are geographically hours away from me because people hear about my work and say, Dr. Christie, there's no one here where we are to help us. Please come help us. And yet if I took their insurance wouldn't let me help them because I'm not in their state as a resident. Let's not forget how modern allopathic medicine is a dehumanizing system. Patients, first of all, I never use that word. They use the word patients as though everyone is some sickly being. They're treated like cases, not people. I've worked in hospitals where individuals were referenced by their chart numbers. So the message becomes you're broken. You need fixing. You're a case instead of you're human, and you really need connection. You know, I want to say a note here, and it's Ava's story. By the way, as I said, but it bears repeating. So these are real stories. Vincent's story inspired by someone extremely close and important in my family, my cousin. And the other two stories, clients, Ava's family and Thomas's family. And I can't help the tears from coming when I talk about them, because first of all, I'm just grateful that they trust me on their journey of healing. And their stories inspire me every day to keep doing the work that I do. And I won't ever stop. And I just want to thank them for agreeing to let me share their stories. Again, the names are anonymous here. I'm not using last names, but I just am so grateful that they share their stories with me. But Ava's story reminds me of another aspect of things here, because I'm talking about the broken healthcare system. And if you know me out there, you know that I've been saying for forever that the two broken systems that are creating so much chaos and illness and chronic disease in our world, it's the healthcare system and also the educational system. So, you know, what strikes me the most is we send our kids to school for what, like, I don't know, 12 years, 15 years, sometimes more. And they learn all the science and the math and the history and the literature. But they learn not a damn thing about the fundamentals of humanness. No one is teaching them about their nervous systems. No one is teaching them that they are energetic beings and how to work with their fundamental bioenergetics. No one is teaching them how stress and stored and sequestered emotions live inside their bodies. No one is teaching them about how emotions are energy that move through us and can be regulated. No one is bothering to teach them how the mind, body, and spirit are connected and how to tend to that inner ecology every single day. No one is telling them because they don't know. They don't know. This is why a big part of my work every day is teaching teachers, educators, administrators who are on the front lines with these kids sitting in their classrooms. Let's talk about the real stuff. Instead, we hand them standardized tests and endless homework and the pressure to perform. What about teaching them how to live? All we're doing is teaching them how to die. Our kids should be learning how to take breaths when they're overwhelmed and how to move their bodies in ways to release what's stored and stuck, how to tell their stories so they don't carry shame, how to sit with grief, how to navigate heartbreak and hardship without collapsing. Why are we not teaching them that adversity is not the end of the world? It's a part of life that breeds resilience. I'm sorry, I get passionate about this. We should be reminding them that hard work matters, yes, that setbacks are teachers and that they're capable of more than they think. But instead, the system hands them shortcuts, instant gratification, participation trophies, a culture that says if it's hard, just give up. If you're sad, take a pill. If you're struggling, better hide it. And then we wonder why kids are breaking down. We wonder why by the time these kids get to college, which half of them don't even want to go and they're being forced, why these young people are struggling with anxiety, depression, and despair. We didn't give them the tools. We didn't teach them how to be human and how to live. This is why I do what I do. This is why I spend half my days on Zoom sessions with college-age kids across the country and around the world. Can you imagine if schools became sacred spaces where kids were taught how to breathe and how to feel and how to rest and how to move and how to sit with discomfort without running from it, and how to rise again after failure. Now that's what I call education. That's prevention. That's resilience. This is the stuff that saving lives is made of. Some people accuse me of having my head in the clouds because I'm a dreamer and a visionary. And I don't know about you, but I don't think anything is impossible. And so it is my mission. It's always been my mission. I'm here to revamp the healthcare system, but it's also been my mission to revamp the educational system. And here's, to me, what a curriculum would look like for schools. The body and the nervous system, how the nervous system works, the flight, fight, freeze, and fawn aspects of the system, regulation practices, understanding the connection between stress, sleep, nutrition, and mood, learning how to listen to the body's signals instead of overriding them. I would be teaching kids emotional intelligence, how to name and express emotions without shame, how to give them tools for taming the waves of those strong emotions like anger and grief and fear. I would be reinforcing the difference between feelings and identity, like I feel sad versus I am broken. Empathy, how to hold space for someone else's feelings without jumping in and feeling that they need to fix it or shoulder their stress or take it on as their own. I would be teaching them the mind-body-spirit connection, daily rituals that strengthen that inner landscape, the power of breath, of light, of nature, of creativity, how thoughts affect the body and how the body affects the mind. I would be having some really straightforward and direct conversations about adversity and resiliency, and the truth that setbacks are teachers, that adversity is the only thing that breeds resiliency, so that they knew how to face hardship without giving up. I would teach them healthy risk-taking, how to try new things, how to fail safely, and how to try again and again and again. I would build grit, consistent effort, delayed gratification, perseverance. This makes me emotional. Relationships and community, how to communicate with honesty and respect, how truth is not always polite, but it's necessary. I would be modeling for these kids conflict navigation without violence or shutdown, consent, boundaries, mutual care, respect, and sacred reciprocity. I would be talking about the importance of belonging and why it is vital that we have community to thrive. I'd be focusing on grief, loss, and change, how grief is not a disorder, but instead a sacred process and an initiation. I would help show children how to create rituals for mourning and remembrance, how to hold sorrow and joy side by side, how to support others through loss without shouldering it themselves. In my curriculum, there is always space for creativity and expression. Storytelling is a tool for healing. Narrative medicine is prioritized. Art, music, movement, play are ways to release and restore. Imagination, not just productivity, is emphasized. I would teach them these sacred skills for daily living, everything from how to nourish their bodies with appropriate food and water, how to care for the lands and live in harmony with the natural living world. Financial literacy, rooted in responsibility instead of consumerism. How to rest, restore, and honor natural rhythms, sunrise, sunset, seasons, menstrual cycles, sleep cycles. You guys, can you imagine this with me? Can you imagine if this was what our kids were learning every day? If you're a parent and you are listening to this, can you imagine if the curriculum went way beyond algebra and writing essays, but focused on breathing and feeling and grieving and moving, resting and connecting? Can you imagine if your kids grew up knowing how to handle setbacks instead of being handed everything? Can you imagine if resilience was taught as naturally as the times tables? You guys, this isn't fluff. This isn't just my pie in the sky. This isn't just my vision. I want this to be reality because this is survival. This is the foundation of mental health. Every damn word I just said. And this is the subject we've ignored for far too long. We want to know why kids are out there shooting up schools. This is why. Don't talk to me about weapons. I'm sorry. Don't do it. This is the why. We're losing ourselves. Here's the truth, you guys. The system, it's not going to save us. We have to reclaim our health, our education, our wholeness, our sovereignty. Because when we give everything over to the system for ourselves and our children and our loved ones, we risk losing everything. We risk losing ourselves to side effects, to dependency, to addiction, to the belief that we are powerless. Because these systems benefit and profit from us believing we're powerless. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. We are not powerless. Healing is not just about not being sick. It's about living connected and vibrant and whole. So you want to know what we can do every single day to put the power back in our hands. If you're a parent listening to this, you need to take the power into your hands because your children's health starts and ends with you. So I want to give you all something really tangible. Ways that you can reclaim your health so that you are less likely to become a victim of these broken systems. First, be informed and ask questions. Do not follow blindly. This is not the time for blind faith, you guys. Advocate for yourself. Don't just take what's handed to you. Don't just take the easy way out. If you are prescribed medicine, ask, what are the side effects? What is your plan for monitoring me? How often will we follow up? Are there any alternatives or any supplements that can support my healing? What can I do every day to support my health and wellness? Ask the questions. Read, research. It's all there for you, you guys. They try to blind us from the truth. But if you're courageous enough to open your eyes and search and dig a little deeper, and these days, we don't really have to even dig that deep. They can't even hide it anymore. Open your eyes and see what's right in front of you. Have the courage to ask. Have the courage to question it. Build daily practices of connection. Reach out to friends, share a meal, call someone instead of texting someone. Create these micro moments of belonging because connection, you guys, is the medicine. We are not here to do this alone. It takes a village. It takes a community. It takes a tribe. Strengthen your inner ecology. Okay, and this is so much about what I teach about in Rewilding Wellness. Move your body daily, not as punishment, but as expression to release everything that was stored and stuck. Stored and sequestered emotions and trauma is the root cause of all dis-ease. Period. End of story. Movement is vital to get the energy moving so it can be expressed. Rest. We must honor our body's cues. Rest is not laziness. This culture teaches us that rest is something to be ashamed of. No, it's vital for our repair. Breathing, our breath, my gosh, it's our most valuable asset. We have to practice mindful breathing to slow down, to regulate, to neutralize stress. Light, we are light beings. Okay, I've done other podcasts about this. I write about this. I teach about this. We are light beings. If you don't know that by now, please get in touch with me and let me walk you through this so you understand. Because if you don't understand who you are, you can't make this work for you. You're always going to be a victim to the system if you don't even know the fundamentals of who you are and why you're here in this life. So light, we are light beings. We are electrical beings. We need light. Step outside at sunrise. Reconnect with your natural rhythms. At night, after sunset, lights out. Proper light hygiene is vital to our health and wellness. Create sacred spaces and rituals, journaling, prayer, meditation, singing, dancing, all of these help us to process pain and to stay rooted and grounded. Storytelling, sharing our stories, not from a place of venting, but from a place of being honest about the essence of who we are and breaking the shame. Choose wholeness and remember that healing is not one size fits all. Don't just accept that just take the pill as the only answer. Explore integrative root cause medicine, nutrition, somatic and body practices, community support, ancestral healing. We are multidimensional beings. We are energetic, physiological, psychological, relational, and spiritual beings. If your health care is not addressing every single one of those dimensions, it's not for you. It's not going to work. When you want to help support others and be the medicine for others, it's important that we remember that we've got to listen without trying to fix. So we can learn how to sit with someone in their pain without trying to cheer them up or make them feel, quote unquote, better. Right? Ask real questions like, how are you really? Go beyond the fluff, go beyond the superficial, and protect your own boundaries as well. Check in even on your friends that you think are strong, not just the ones who are visibly struggling. Sometimes it's the ones who seem the strongest on the outside, who feel the most fragile on the inside. I want to take a moment here to talk now about something also that came out of Vincent's story about grief. Because Vincent, if you recall in the story, was grieving the loss of his wife of 40-something years. And unfortunately, the system has a complete mishandling of grief. Grief is not mental illness. It's not something that needs to be fixed. It's not a disorder. Grief is love turned inside out. It's proof of our humanity and our capacity to bond so deeply with others. But in our culture and in our medical system, grief is treated like a problem. So, like Vincent, you go to your doctor and you say, I can't sleep and I can't focus and I'm crying. And instead of saying, of course you are, you just lost someone you love. You're given a diagnosis and a prescription. This broken system doesn't teach people how to sit with grief. We don't create the rituals and the circles and the safe spaces for mourning. Instead, we medicalize it. We call it depression. We call it a mental illness. And while grief and depression can overlap, that is true, they are not the same. Depression, anyway, is really just one side of a dysregulated nervous system. The opposite side is anxiety. We use all these identities and labels, and no one ever tells us what it really means. When we pathologize grief, we are cutting people off from the most ancient, sacred process of healing. We are basically robbing them of the chance to feel fully and to honor their loss and to move through it in a way that can transform pain into something meaningful. And so many, like Vincent, become victims of a system that refuses to honor grief as human. And I believe that's truly the deeper tragedy here. So if you're working with grief in your life, I strongly encourage you to recognize that grief must be normalized as a process, as a journey, not an illness. People talk about these stages of grieving that you can hear, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages on grief. Well, guess what? These are not discrete stages that happen linearly. It's cyclical. It's cyclical. It's a process. And there's no time limit on it. Sorrow is natural after loss. It is not something that needs to be medicated away. If you learn how to work with that energy, it can actually be a beautiful invitation for you. We can learn how to create rituals, storytelling, planting trees, lighting candles, simply being with it in silence. Seek communities, grief groups, ceremonies, spiritual circles. Seek community, not a clinic. If you're working with grief, make sure you advocate for yourself in medical spaces. If you are told that your grief is depression, you need to be saying, is it possible that I'm grieving? What supports other than medication can you offer me? Ask the questions. And if someone you love is grieving, don't try to fix them. Just sit with them. Hold their hands and their stories. Let them cry without rushing them through it. Show them that the only way to heal is to feel. Show them that the only way out is through. So I want to conclude this episode, and I know that this may be a little heavy, and I recognize that I'm, clearly very openly expressing my own emotion even as I'm saying this, and that's okay. And for those of you who will write to me tomorrow when you listen to this and say, gosh, you sounded so angry. Yeah, you're damn right I am. And for those of you who will write and say, wow, you were so sad. Yeah, you damn right I am. But I hope that what you will remember most out of it is that I am empowered to continue to do all that I can to rewild wellness, to help you, each one of you, remember that you're not broken. The system may be broken, but you are not. You are human. Pain and possibility can be carried at the same time. Healing is not about perfection. It's all about reconnection. I am here to help you reclaim your sovereignty, your freedom, and your reconnection to yourself, to your community, to this earth, to the practices that nourish your soul. Because your life matters and your presence matters, and we need you here. And we are all one. We are all interconnected in this beautiful web of light. We are all fractals of light. Each one of our shine is necessary. And I'm here to remind you of that. Please, the best thing you can do for me, if you've listened to this and it's helped you, share this. Share the hell out of this. Please. And if you are in acute pain, please reach out. Call 988 in the United States. That is a 24-hour, 365-day hotline. Share your truth with someone that you trust. Find someone you trust. I am available. You've got people in your life. There's always someone. Don't let a system that doesn't see your wholeness define your story. We need you here. Every one of our lights is necessary to shine. And so it is. Thank you for listening. I hope this was informative and inspirational. And please be in touch, Christy@ChristyVanacore.com. Give me your feedback, give me your suggestions, help me in this mission to rewild wellness, because each and every one of our lives depends on it.